So I'm going to just go over a couple of these just to remind you. And I'm just pulling them off of my EDIA assignment from yesterday. You're going to have a quiz on the same thing. The biggest thing that I saw yesterday from the people that were in class and the people that we were watching is make sure that one rule that we learned yesterday where you flip if you multiply or divide by a negative. Okay, so watch that inequality sign. So we're going to start with this one. This one's really easy. Just like an equation, we're solving for m. So we need to get rid of -8. How do we get rid of -8? Add 8. What I do to one side, I do to the other. I did not multiply or divide by a negative, so everything stays the same. And then -2 plus 8 is 6. Okay, watch the way you type it in. Just turn it down, off, whatever. You got lucky because if anybody else would have been in here, then knocked it out. Is everybody good? All right, so I'm going to do another one. Where did my EDIA assignment go? It must have closed out. Give me just a second. Don't want that one. Let's look at this one. I'm just writing it down and I'll switch back to where you guys can see my paper. Just trying to do a couple. All right, so we have C over 8 is greater than or equal to -6. We're solving for C. We have a divide 8 below it. How do we get rid of a divide 8? What I do to one side, I do the other. So your 8s cancel out and leave you with C. You did not multiply by a negative. So we're going to leave it greater than or equal to. And then 6 times 8 is -48. -6 times 8 is -48. So these are just like solving equations until you multiply or divide by a negative. So now I'm going to switch back, see if I can find one of those. Here's a good one. I'm just writing it down. -y over 10 is less than or equal to 1. And you guys can have this when you, this little sheet, kind of like a cheat sheet while you're taking your quiz, okay? So that's not a problem. You can have your notes out and everything. All right, so most of you take this problem in 2 steps since the negative is with the y. Now you can move it with a 10 if you'd like, but a lot of you take 2 steps. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 steps with you, okay? So we have a -y divide 10. So we need to get rid of the 10. So we do just like the last one and multiply. The 10s cancel out and you're left with -y. Less than or equal to 1 times 10 is 10. Now, some of you that I worked with yesterday, you may be on Zoom today, but that I worked with yesterday forgot that, remember, there's always a 1 with that y. So we can rewrite this as -1y less than or equal to 10. So then how do I get rid of that -1? We divide by it. We divided by a negative. So we make sure we flip the sign, okay? So when you divide by that negative, flip that sign. You're left with y, and 10 divided by -1 is 10, greater than or equal to -10. Okay. So again, the things that we saw was flipping.
So you only flip the sign when you divide by negative?
Or multiply by a negative. So like when we did, I'll show you the other way. If we would have put the -10 down here when we started, like this, and we multiplied by -10, we would flip the sign there too. That makes sense? So multiply or divide by a negative, flip that sign. Okay. All right, let me see what I can do next. Let's do one like this. It's just a little bit harder. It's the same. Just looks a little bit harder. So 7 minus a over 2 is greater than or equal to -2. I'm probably going to do 2 or 3 more and then we're going to be done, okay? And then you guys will have the whole time to take your quiz and makeup work. There are a lot of you that have makeup work, and I will tell you what you're missing, all right? So we're trying to solve for a. Right now, this 2 is with the a. We're missing the 7. We need to get rid of that. So how do I get rid of, this is a +7. How do I get rid of it? -7. So your 7s cancel out. You're going to bring all of this down. So negative a over 2 greater than or equal to negative 2 minus 7 is negative 9. Guys, use your calculator. Some of you are doing these little things right here incorrect in your head. So just check it in your calculator. Remember, right now you can use it. We'll learn how not to use our calculator later. Okay, let's get the steps down first. All right, now this one looks exactly like the last one that we just did. Okay, so we can either take it in 2 steps or we can take it in 1. It's up to you. So if we're looking at this, you guys typically do 2 steps. We need to get rid of divide 2. So we're going to multiply 2. Your 2's will cancel us out and leave negative a is greater than or equal to negative 18. How do I solve for a? Divide by what? What kind of 1? Negative 1. And since I divided by a negative, I'm going to flip the inequality. That leaves me with a on this side, and a negative over a negative makes a positive 18. And again, guys, use your calculators on that. That's perfectly fine. Don't feel bad. Okay. Any questions on that one? Let's look again. Let's go back. Ms. Walter, if you see any that you feel like they were missing yesterday, those are all the same. Let's do this one. Okay. So negative 5 plus x over 2 less than or equal to negative 3. What do I do first? Add 5. It's a negative 5, so I'm going to add 5. They cancel out, leaves me with x over 2 less than or equal to negative 3 plus 5 is a positive 2. Again, if you need to use your calculator. How do I get x by itself? We don't need to change the sign, so it's less than or equal to 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, any questions? Make sure multiplying or dividing by a negative, you flip the sign. Is everybody okay? All right, so what I'm going to do is stop sharing and stop recording.